When is the best time to start your webinar? Welcome to beautiful Coolangatta Beach. Let's talk about the best time to start your webinar. And the best time to start your webinar is not the start time. You should arrive early, really early. My general rule is I like to be there before 20% of the webinar participants have arrived. Now, why do I get there nice and early? Why am I there usually 20-30 minutes before the advertised start time? Well, a couple of reasons. Firstly, let me say though, that I don't actually start the webinar when I arrive. I start the webinar at the start time, but I do like to get in early, and there's lots of reasons why. Firstly, it takes the pressure off. You can relax a lot more. When you get there and there's just a few participants in the room or even no participants in the room, you can press the buttons, you can start setting things up without as much pressure. There's nothing worse than trying to be the big hero who arrives and strolls into the room at the start time of the webinar and just go for it straight away. You don't want to do that. You wouldn't do it in a classroom situation, arrive right on the start time and start teaching. You want to arrive there early and greet people. It's the same with webinars. Get there nice and early and greet people as they arrive. Use their name. Say, "Hi John, it's great that you're here. Mary, great to see you here today. Where are you coming from today? Where are you, Mary?" And ask people questions and engage people. Start developing that relationship with people before the webinar starts. It gives you a golden advantage, because when the webinar actually starts, and if you have technical problems or if you have challenges or you start to mumble and fumble, people will be very forgiving because they've already met you. They've already decided that, you know what, this is a person who's trying to help me. This is a person who's acting like a friendly person. This is somebody who's interested in my welfare, and they care about me enough to arrive early and talk to me before the webinar starts. There's a lot of other advantages of arriving really early for a webinar. Firstly, you can take time to make sure you've got all your polls set up. Make sure that if you've got an offer set up, that it's set up correctly. Make sure that the settings are right, that your audio and video are working perfectly, that your webcam's looking good, that your audio settings are sounding great, and that there's no changes or improvements that you want to make. That you've got all the windows in the different places across your monitor or monitors so you can manage the webinar most effectively. It gives you so many advantages arriving nice and early. You're relaxed and you're organized and you're set to go. Arriving early for your webinar also gives you the chance to ask and answer questions before the webinar starts. Now, why would you want to do that? A variety of reasons. It's building that engagement and that connection between you and your webinar participants. But also, the types of questions you ask can give you information about how people found out about the webinar, how they're enjoying the course or any series that might be related to the webinar, and what they want to learn about the webinar. Just ask questions. What do you want to learn today? Why have you decided to attend? Ask all of those questions. You can find out lots of information about the webinar and about the participants before you even get started, and you can improve the webinar as a result. Also, you can invite your webinar participants to ask their questions. Their questions will be instructive as to their level of understanding and what they want to accomplish from the webinar. And if you start answering people's questions before the webinar even starts, that's golden. That's going to impress people. There's one other final advantage of attending a webinar and getting started early that I want to recommend to you, and it's troubleshooting. Inevitably, when you go to a webinar, you might have something that's not quite working right for you, or there might be some participants where things aren't quite working right for them. If you be the big hero, if you be the big star and arrive at start time, you have zero chance to solve those problems without compromising the webinar itself. So arrive early and troubleshoot your problems and the problems of your participants. They'll love you for it. Cowabunga, dude! If you're a regular of these videos, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. But today I want to tell you about something that's not video content. Do you sometimes wish when you're in the car or on the gym or in the shower that you wish you had something to listen to so you could learn about webinars more effectively? If you're a webinar fanatic like I am,
and you want to get the chance to take advantage of those opportunities to do more learning, then there's a podcast for you, the Webinar Skills Podcast, hosted by yours truly. And I'm very excited about the Webinar Skills Podcast. It's only just been recently released and it's going great. So if you want the chance to listen to top-class webinar presenters like John Lee Dumas, like Rick Mulready, like Joe Daniel, like George Cow and Kate Erickson, then tune into the Webinar Skills Podcast. You'll find it on iTunes or Stitcher Radio. Search for it, Webinar Skills Podcast, or click the link below to go to the Webinar Skills Podcast. Please have a listen to one of the episodes. I hope you love it.
Thanks for watching today's video. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel and have an awesome day.
Let's talk about webinar engagement and why Jerry Seinfeld gets it.